Hello, everybody. What's good? Welcome to the latest episode of Mystery Unsolved. If this episode happens at all, this is my third attempt in trying to go live, but my tablet has other plans. So if at any point this shuts off, I'm just going to say the hell with it. And until I can get my tablet fixed, there will be no Mystery Unsolved. But knock on wood that will not be the case. Also, if I look a little off, a little swollen, allergy. Yeah, that's why I look a little droopy, but I'm perfectly fine. I'm well. Without further ado, Mystery Unsolved. I did say that tonight would in fact be a double feature, not that anybody notices, not that anyone ever pays attention to any of my shit. But here we go, nonetheless. Mystery Unsolved, the disappearance and no, excuse me, the mysterious death of Michelle von Emster. Part one of a Mystery Unsolved double feature. On April 14th, 1994, 25-year-old Michelle von Emster supposedly went for a late-night swim near the Sunset Cliffs in San Diego. The next morning, her body was found washed ashore in what deemed a great white shark attack. Yikes, to say the least, right? However, many bizarre facts have since emerged that may indicate something way more mysterious happened that night. Her injuries. Oh, first off, full disclosure, I'm not on the site that I'm normally at. So you're gonna hear somebody, whoever wrote this, they're very immature, because yeah, you'll just be able to tell. It's very, I don't know, very simple language. Michelle's injuries were super crazy. See what I mean? Super crazy. You're not gonna. This is a freaking murder victim, possibly, and you're gonna say her. Yeah, and several shock experts, Jesus, later said they were not consistent with those of a shark attack. For instance, Michelle was severely bruised and had a broken neck as if she had fallen or been in a car crash. Her leg was also missing, and the remaining bone was sharpened to a point. The experts shared that a great white bite is clean and would never result in such a bone. Ah! The experts share that a great white bite is clean and would never result in such a point. Michelle's purse with her wallet, keys, and money were found along a busy stretch of beach along after she was discovered. Authorities doubt her belongings would have remained unnoticed by so many people for so long, unless they were planted there sometime after the attack. One moment, my phone is just now my phone's starting to give me shit. Timeout. Let's go 10 minutes. Michelle had recently left a job where she was being stalked by a stranger who owned a motorcycle. The day after her death, an employee at a nearby office supply store said a man who owned a motorcycle came in to create copies of Michelle's autopsy. Authorities have never been able to locate this man. This is just going to be the strangest episode of Mystery Unsolved, and I've had quite a few. Okay, yeah, so a guy who owns a motorcycle came into the to create copies of her autopsy. That's not creepy. Also, you ever watch an episode of Unsolved Mysteries, and it's blatantly obvious that of who the murderer is, and yet it remains unsolved, and not because the person's like, you know, evading arrest. If Michelle von Emster wasn't killed by a shark, what happened? Did she drown after going for a swim, fall from sunset cliffs, or was she murdered? Similarly, Missy, we're going to talk about Missy Palmer. And that's literally the end of that case. What a shitty freaking website this is. Let's go to another website because that's clearly not. I knew that wasn't going to be a good website. I knew it wasn't. Oh, BuzzFeed. There we go. That's where I found this. Michelle was found naked by two surfers. The only noticeable items on her body were a brass bracelet, two rings, and a butterfly tattoo. She was taken to the lifeguard station and examined by medical examiner Robert Engel. Engel did not say the cause of death in the report, but said that her body could not have been in the water long. The consensus at the time was that this was most likely a shark attack. Okay. One day later, a formal autopsy was performed by Brian Blackburn. Blackburn determined that Von Emster was alive when the injuries were inflicted, but agreed that it was likely a shark attack. So case closed, right? Not quite. There were a couple of sketchy factors that came into play. Though Blackburn determined that her death was the result of a shark attack, he had never seen an actual death caused by a shark before for reference. Let's just go back to that for a second, shall we? Though Blackburn determined her death was the result of a shark attack, he had never seen an actual death caused by a shark before for reference. How the fuck can you determine that she was killed by a shark if you've never had reference to seeing anyone killed by a shark? So this guy's not even credible. The fucking coroner isn't even credible. Also, her injuries that were sustained were not caused by a shark attack. Also, he determined that she was still alive when she went into the water. So someone fucked her up, threw her in the water, and then maybe the shark killed her? Does she have shark bites on her? If not, guess what? It wasn't a fucking shark. Ralph Collier, a great white shark specialist, said the break on Michelle's leg was not consistent with that of a shark attack. Thank you. He said it was a great white shark. He said if it was a great white shark, the break would have been clean, and Michelle's bone was almost whited to a point, which we read from the other article. What remained of Michelle's femur was anything but. It looked like what happens when you get a piece of bamboo and whittle it down to a point with a knife. Her bone was like that. Her bone was sharp like a point, like a weapon. Another thing that didn't add up was how much sand entered Michelle's lungs. If her leg had been torn off, she would have bled to death quickly and been unable to take a big breath and inhale sand on the ocean floor. Overall, Collier felt there were too many things in the case that were inconsistent with white shark behavior. The damage would have severed her femoral artery and she would have bled to death quickly. But for her to have sand in her stomach, she had to take a big gulping breath as she made contact with the sand. So she was definitely still alive. So the damage that was done to her was what caused her death. Her going into the water was literally just the murderer covering their tracks, hoping a shark either attacked her, took a bite out of her, and killed her, hoping water filled her lungs and she drowned. But either way, the water was probably, let's say, not a factor. It was kind of a factor after the fact. Richard Rosenblatt, an oceanologist from the Scripps Institute who originally consulted with Blackburn, the medical examiner, said when given more information about the size of Michelle's wounds, they could not have been caused by a great white shark. So you get a shark expert and a fucking oceanologist to shut that corner up. Oh, she died of a shark attack. I have no experience with this though. Then why are you making the freaking call that she was killed by a shark? You moron. Thank God for the oceanologist and the shark expert. Other experts hy- hypo, hypothesized, brain lapse. Other experts hypothesized that she may have died first, and sharks could have scavenged her body afterwards. Were there bites on her? I'm not understanding this. You determined that a shark didn't kill her, but if a shark at least bit her, there would be bites on her. Yes. Also, you'd be able to determine if the bite marks are what killed her. But we've already established that that's not the case. Look at me making hypotheses. Whatever the coroner said is the exact opposite of what happened to her. We know this. There was a person that just came in. Look at that. Hello, person that was in here. However, experts already ruled out a great white shark as her attacker. And a great white shark was the only shark that had the strength to remove her leg in such a way. So, how else could Michelle have died? One theory said she was swimming naked at night and drowned. However, this seems unlikely since the water was a cool 59 degrees. Another theory said Michelle might have fallen from the cliffs. Michelle's neck, ribs, and pelvic injuries were more consistent with injuries from falls or car accidents. When we visited the scene, it seemed pretty likely that the fall could kill her, but unlikely would rip off her limb. The third theory was that Michelle was murdered. One of the unofficial suspects was her acquaintance, Edwin Decker. Decker originally told police that Michelle liked to surf naked, which could be true, or he could be trying to cover his tracks for why her body was found naked. Another sketchy part about Decker was that he claimed to have feelings for Michelle, that he was unsure if she returned. Decker also reported having contact with her the day of her death. And it gets worse. When Michelle died, Decker wrote this interesting poem. I'm going to read the poem. I kind of remember this episode. So, the report said there was a tattoo, a butterfly on her shoulder, which I remembered that night on my couch when I, like the shark, chewed on her lips and took off her shirt. What the fuck? I'm pretty sure I reacted the same way that Shane reacted, Shane Bidet of BuzzFeed Unsolved, when Ryan read the poem. I mean, if he didn't do it. However, Decker was actually one of the people who asked Michelle's case be re examined. So creepy. Definitely a murderer? Unclear. The second suspect was a stalker Michelle had reported following her at work. Michelle even left one of her jobs to avoid the man. This was the guy in the motorcycle from the original article that I had read. Michelle, Michelle's former boss at an office supply store, Denise, said that a man came into the day of her death and made several copies of her autopsy. The kicker, the man who made those copies rode a motorcycle, just like Michelle's stalker. So what happened to Michelle? It was definitely a creepy stalker. Did you read Decker's poem? He's guilty of something. She was taking a naked dip, the waves got rough, and sharks scavenged her body. It was a great white shark. Aliens. All right. We get a lot to unfold here. Fortunate, excuse me. Fortunately, there are three theories, so we're just gonna make it. We're gonna go off of that. All right. The theory number one. She went on a midnight. She went on that. She went on a midnight naked swim and subsequently drowned. This theory, not true. This is not true. She did not. She didn't drown. She did not drown. Her injuries that were sustained, if she fell off the cliff, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, she didn't drown. She already had the injuries before she went in the water. So we can rule out theory number one. Another theory said Michelle might have fallen from the cliffs. This is possible. I absolutely do not rule this out. A fall from whatever, however amount of feet that she fell from could absolutely be the reason that she sustained the bruises and injuries that she sustained. Blah, 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 I can't talk. It could have been the result of why she died. Theory number three was that she was murdered. This is the theory that I'm going to go with because of two factors. One, theory number two can still be possible here, mixed in with theory three. If she was murdered, somebody could have pushed her off the cliff, then walked down, then taken her body and put it in the water. That's what I think happened. Now, who did it, if that's the case? I'm going to go with number three. Edwin Decker, the creepy friend, or her stalker. They both have some really creepy things that they did to make themselves look guilty. Edwin Decker wrote this creepy ass freaking poem, which doesn't even rhyme, by the way. The report said there was a tattoo, a butterfly on her shoulder, which I remembered that night on my couch when I, like the shark, chewed on her lips and took off her shirt. But remember, he wasn't sure if she felt the same way about him. So they didn't hook up. This is something that he imagined. He fantasized about it. Also, the first two words in this poem are the reports said, or the first three words. The reports said. There's a lot. Okay, I'm actually gonna break down this poem. The reports said there was a tattoo. So he's saying that the reports said that there was a tattoo, which I remembered that night on my couch when I, like the shark, chewed on her lips and took off her shirt. But remember, if he said supposedly that he wasn't sure if she liked him back, so that means to me that there's no way that she would have let him, like, would they really have fooled around? That would have been a clear indication that she liked him back. So I feel like this is like a fantasy of his. And that he only found, it's like the report said there was a tattoo. But he's saying he remembered, but he doesn't really remember because this never happened. So maybe that. But then, of course, the whole chewed on her lips and took off her shirt. Like, that's creepy as fuck. But maybe he was trying to be like, I don't know. I'm not even going to put words in this man's mouth. To me, I feel like that poem, while it is creepy, can sort of be explained. It's a fantasy of his. And for some weird reason, rather than write a poem about, like, remembering her, he wrote that. Because, again, maybe the guy's not right in the head. You know. I think the stalker is more likely to have been her killer. Because who the fuck goes into an office supply shop and the very one she worked at, mind you, and makes copies of her autopsy? That's not. How is that okay? That's creepy as fuck. Also, do we know that Edwin Decker didn't own a motorcycle? Could we kill like four birds in one stone? Can we kill? Can we take the whole nest? Is Edwin Decker the motorcycle driver? Did he push her off the cliff and then put her body in the water? Can it be all of them? And then she drowned afterwards. That would make it all three theories. That sounds amazing. My money is on the stalker because I'm sorry, but to me, just me personally, I believe that while the poem is very sus, a random creepy stranger ass dude walking into her place of work and making copies of her autopsy outweighs the dude, the friend, the dude that was friend zoned, making a creepy ass poem after her death. That's just my opinion. What do you think? How do you think Michelle von Emster died? Do you think she drowned? She didn't drown. Do you think she fell off the cliff? Do you think she was murdered? Are you like me and you believe that it's possibly theory 2 and theory 3? You won't, you never do, but do let me know in the comments below. This has been Mystery Unsolved, the mysterious death of Michelle von Emster. I'm glad I got to do this episode. Again, it was a BuzzFeed Unsolved episode, hence why I was on their website reading about it. Do stay tuned for the next episode of Mystery Unsolved, which is going to happen literally right after this, after I end this live. And that one will be on something I'm not going to even spoil. I'm not even going to tell you what it is. You're going to have to come back and find it for yourself. It's something unique. Something I don't think I've really done before. You're intrigued, aren't you? For Mystery Unsolved, this has been Justin Bienvenu. Until next time, in a few minutes.